Let me tell you first, I drove my Camry 250,000 miles till it passed out, and now I have a Prius, which I've driven 150,000 miles, so Toyota is in my blood. Definitely in my blood. Great product. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, how in the heck did this guy get on Dance with the Stars? And I hope he didn't dance. Well, let me tell you right now, no, I did not dance. In fact, I am a terrible dancer. Case in point, this is our wedding dance, and this is my lovely bride, Tommy. We've been married about 3 years. We have a lovely son, Miles, and we're very blessed. It took me 6 months to learn this wedding dance. 6 months. And if you look at my lovely bride, she's gritting her teeth and she's saying, why did we waste our money on those lessons? And stop stepping on my feet, please. So no, I did not dance on Dance with the Stars. What I did was I explained to the audience how these stars could handle the pressure of learning a new dance every day in and day out, and for every show. And there's just so much pressure on those stars because they're not dancers and they have to learn a new dance for every show. And that same principle of pressure relates to you here in Toyota in the material handling business, because you're #1 for the last 12 years, which is amazing. And there's pressure, immense pressure, to stay #1. The competition's trying to pull you down off that pedestal. There's pressure to stay motivated and inspired. And I know we have to be honest. When you reach your goals and you make a lot of money, it's easy to get complacent. It really is. It's easy to lose that drive. It's easy to stop being inspired. And what I want to do today is explain how you can go full throttle, how you can stay motivated, how you can put the pedal to the metal. Because I know you have some amazing goals you want to attain for 2020, and I know it's going to take you to be totally inspired. It's going to take you to stay motivated day in and day out. And so the question I want to address today is, how can you go full throttle? How can you stay full throttle? And I liken your situation to this guy, Nick Saban. If you're familiar with Nick Saban, this guy goes full throttle every day. He's the Alabama football coach. And if you don't know his story, he won a national championship at LSU. He's won 3 national championships at Alabama in the last 6 years. And he basically has reached his goals. He makes $7 million a year, and you can't spend that money in Tuscaloosa, let me tell you that right now. You can't, because I've been there. How can this guy go full throttle? How does he teach his players to go full throttle? And he calls it the process. And the process is this. He tells his players to stay inspired, motivated on every play, and let the outcome happen. Because you can't control the outcome. You can only control what you do. And of course, his main goal is to win national championships, but you can only control the process. And that's what he does for himself. I worked at the University of Alabama with the football team, and I saw this guy, man. He's just got so much energy. He's running around. He loves competition. He loves practice. He focuses on the process. One play at a time, every day, stay inspired and motivated. And the way you do that, and the secret to the process, and that's what I want to discuss with you today, is the secret to this process, to how you can go full throttle like this guy. So you can basically put the pedal to the metal and win championship after championship after championship and keep being the top dog in your field. And the way you have to do that is through ET. And I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking fuzzy green alien. No. It's emotional toughness. Emotional toughness is your ability to master your emotions every day. Because when you master your emotions, you will master your world. And when you master your emotions, you will be able to go full throttle. And I learned this really difficult lesson about how to master your emotions when I was 15. When I was 15, yes, that's me. It's the 70s, the short shorts, and look at the wood racket and the old poofy hairdo, which I call the hair don't. Well, I had a great life when I was 15. I was on the tennis team, had a girlfriend, and then one heartbeat later, my dad died. And I remember I went from this happy-go-lucky teen to this terrible teen. And I started getting into fights. I started yelling at teachers. And luckily, Vice Principal Smithson called me in his office, and he said, Greg, you're going to be expelled unless you see Dr. Carlson. Well, I don't want to see Dr. Carlson. I didn't want to see a shrink. I didn't even know what a shrink was back then. I didn't want to see one, but he insisted. So that afternoon, I saw Dr. Carlson, and within a few minutes, Dr. Carlson knew what was blocking me, and he grabbed a pillow off the couch, and he handed it to me, and he said, Greg, I want you to start hitting this pillow, and I want you to pretend it's your dad. And I was like, I don't want to hit this pillow. If it's my dad, he's gone. He goes, no, just do it. So I start hitting it. And I just kind of went with it. And all of a sudden, I started hitting it harder and then harder. And my emotions got out of whack. And I started hitting harder. And I just wanted to rip that pillow. And I threw it on the ground. And I stomped on it. And then I yelled out a painful scream. And that was the start of my journey. And I know some of you have lost a parent at a young age, and it was painful. Maybe you repressed emotions like I had. Maybe it blocked you. But when Dr. Carlson allowed me to understand my emotions and be aware of my emotions, then I could control my emotions. And it took a while, but I went back that happy-go-lucky kid. And I remember vowing to making it my mission to understand how successful people become successful, how the best people stay inspired every day. And for the last 30 years, I've worked with some of the greatest athletes in the world, like Brant Snedeker, like Trent Hassel on the Bulls. I work with kids on the Alabama team. I worked with CEOs. I've worked with executives. And my goal is this. If you look at a continuum of mental health, on this side is being neurotic and psychotic. And I worked in a mental hospital, and I never wanted to do that. I realized I wanted to focus on the top 0.1% of the population. What makes these people so successful? How do they do it? And I've looked for patterns, and I've seen that some people are hugely talented, but they aren't successful. And other people are somewhat talented, and they're hugely successful. And the main pattern that I've discovered with all these athletes, with musicians, with business executives, everybody I've looked at, what they can do is what I call have a life song. And the life song is this. It's a powerful, positive, emotional state that they can flip on at a moment's notice. And when they do that, they react to the world in a positive, powerful, emotional way. And when they do that, the world reacts to them in a positive, powerful, emotional way. And the reason why I call it a life song is because everybody in here knows the power of music. The power of music can push our emotions in one direction or push our emotions in another direction. Music can make us sad when we remember a sad song, or it can make us really happy when we remember a happy song. And when we're not motivated at all, it can make us stand up and dance. I think you can remember, or you can relate to this story. I flew into Raleigh, North Carolina a couple weeks ago for a keynote, and I got my rental car. It took like 45 minutes. I don't know what took so long. I was tired. I just wanted to get to the hotel. And then I got in traffic, and it just started getting to me. And then all of a sudden, that song came on the radio, and it was Move Like Jagger by Maroon 5. I love that song. I mean, it just gets to me. And all of a sudden, I start doing the finger bop, and I start doing the thumb bop, and I start doing the chicken. You know the chicken, right? And I start doing the lip thing because it's Jagger. And I don't realize I'm still doing it, and I get to a light, and I turn, and it's a cop. And he's looking at me with that crazy look, and I knew exactly what he was thinking. He was thinking, that guy is one hell of a dancer. But you get that picture. But the person that really showed me the power of the life song, someone who could switch on at a moment's notice and who's hugely successful, is this guy, Michael Jordan. And you might have seen this game 25 years ago. The Bulls are playing the Pistons. And back then, The Pistons were their arch nemesis. They hadn't beaten the Pistons yet in a playoff. And they lost the first game. And it's the second game, and they're saying, Michael Jordan's sick, he's been throwing up, he's green, oh, he's not going to play. And he walks out on the floor, and he's all walking gingerly, and you could tell he's really sick. He doesn't take any practice shots. But did you know when the game started, he flipped that switch, and he changed his tune, and he went from that unmotivated, sick person to Michael Jordan, superstar. He scored 62 points. They won that game. They won the series, and they went on to their first NBA Finals. Because Michael Jordan knew how to flip the switch of his life song. That's what successful people do. They have this powerful, positive life song inside, in their heart that plays, in their mind, and they can flip it on in a moment's notice. And then they react in a positive, powerful way. But it's not just about performance. It's about life. And I know you can relate to this principle. It's about love. Remember that wonderful relationship you had, that magical relationship, and it's the first 3 months of that wonderful relationship, and you have that love song in your heart. Remember that? And you get the tingling in your head and the tingling in your toes when you meet that person. And everything about that person is so wonderful. It's just magnificent. And when that person asks you to take you to the airport at 4:30 in the morning, you say, of course, honey, I'll take you to the airport. I don't want you to be alone, and I want to kiss you goodbye. You remember that. Now, fast forward 10 years. You're married to that person now, okay? And that tune has changed. And now that person says, honey, can you take me to the airport at 4:30 in the morning? And you say, are you kidding? Are you kidding? I got meetings. I got so much stuff. I can't. I cannot do it. You just take a cab. Don't worry about it. And of course, that's one of the main reasons why our relationships get hurt, because we've changed that tune of our life song, of our love song. But what if you had that wonderful love song of that 3 months in your 3rd year of your relationship, in your 5th year, in your 10th year? How wonderful would your relationships be? They would be fantastic, right? Your marriage would be a knockout. It would be a home run. You would go full throttle every day. Everything would be magnificent. And what if you could have the principle of that 3-month relationship in every relationship, at work, with your friends? You would have a magnificent life. It's difficult. We all know it's hugely difficult. It's a choice, but it's difficult. And I want to share with you how to do that. And really, the way you do that is by using the life song triad. And it starts with being aware of your emotions, and then creating these notes of your life song, which are words, actions, and images, which ultimately create this life song, which becomes a habit, so that you can flip that switch in a moment's notice under pressure when you're demotivated, but you don't feel like it. You can flip the switch like Michael Jordan did and be a superstar in your life. But I want to talk about each of these principles in a little bit more of a detail. And the first one is being aware of your emotions. And the first thing you have to do is ask yourself, why? Why did I have this emotion? And the why is like a spotlight that you place on your life to figure out the emotional state that you had. Think about this. You're at work. You dropped your keys on the floor. The lights went off. You're looking for your keys, and you realize the lights are on over there in the parking lot. So you say to yourself, I'm going to go out there to the parking lot and look for my keys. So you go out to the parking lot, and you start looking for your keys, and your employees come out, and they say, boss, what are you doing? And you say, I'm looking for my keys. And you guys start looking for your keys out here in the parking lot. That's silly, right? You'd go back into the office, get the lights turned on, and look for your keys here. Well, that's the same thing with the spotlight of why. You can't find it out there. You have to search inside. The spotlight has to be placed on yourself. That's emotional awareness. And what I've discovered is the most successful people place the spotlight on themselves, and they understand why they're inspired and why they get burnt out, and therefore they can move in the next direction, which is this. They create the notes. The notes are primers. Primers are powerful stimuli, like music, which are words, actions, and images which push our emotions in the right direction over and over again. Primers are so powerful. It's amazing. And I'm going to prove it to you with some fun experiments that we're going to do just for a couple minutes. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you first the power of words. So we're going to split the audience down in the middle, right here. There you go, right in the middle. Okay, so this is Group A, and you're Group B. Okay, right down the middle. All right? I forgot to tell you this is a very interactive keynote. So you cannot be passive at all this morning. So right in the middle, you guys are Group A, you're Group B. Okay, Group B, you got to turn away from the screen. Just don't look at the screen. Turn away from the screen. Group A, look at the screen. This is your word. Okay? Now, Group A, turn away from the screen. Group B, now you look at the screen. This is your word. Okay, now everybody look at the screen. Okay? What are you guys thinking about? Okay, soup, I hope. What are you guys thinking about? Soap. Who thought chicken soap over here? If you thought chicken soap, you need to see me afterwards. There's something seriously wrong. Okay. Words are the power of emotion. They're the language of emotion. What if I said this to you? Your employee complains a lot. You'd have a certain emotion related to that. Or if I said your employee gives a lot of suggestions, you'd have a different emotion. The power of words greatly impacts your emotions. And the right word at the right time will impact your emotion, will allow you to go full throttle, will allow you to put the pedal to the metal when you need to. Okay, let's do another one. Relates to the power of actions. Okay, Group A, you have to give me a fake smile, because I know it's going to be fake. Just fake the smile, okay? Give me a fake smile. Okay, Group B, you have to scowl. And you have to get that crinkle right here and get the lip up a little bit and the eye. Okay, you're scowling. Okay, everybody look at the screen, okay? It says, the real reason dinosaurs became extinct. Gary Larson commercial, cartoon, classic. When we did this experiment, the people that had the fake smile, they enjoyed this cartoon a lot more. Their laugh-o-meter was going off the chart. You guys who scowled, you didn't think it was so funny because our actions greatly influence our emotions. Our actions, our physiology will greatly influence our emotions. How our posture is, if we're standing tall, we're going to be more confident. If we're sitting in our chairs upright, we're going to be more confident. And if you had the doggy Zen position, you would be relaxed. It took this dog months to learn this position. I'm telling you, and he is a very relaxed dog. But to prove my point, I want everybody to stand up. Okay, everybody got to stand up, shake it out a little bit. Okay, remember I said it's a very interactive keynote. So this is what I want you to do. Just take 3 deep breaths, heart-filled breaths right now. Aren't you relaxed? You know why? Because you're telling your body this is a safe spot. It's okay to be relaxed. And you know when you're nervous and you're fearful, all of a sudden you breathe like this. You don't know it, but you are. And that tells your body there's something wrong, and you get more nervous. But by taking 3 deep breaths, instantaneously you change your emotions. Okay, grab a seat. Thank you very much. That was only the first time you're going to have to stand up this morning. The next one I want to talk about is the power of images. Okay? Group A, this is an experiment we did at my university. We showed you pictures of older adults. Group B, we showed you a picture of younger adults. But here's the true experiment. We had you walk down the hall, okay, to another room. Do you know the group we showed older adult images to walked slower? It's true. The ones that saw the older adults, they walk slower. And you're thinking, there is no way that is going to influence my emotions. It's true. Do you know why? Because primers work below our conscious level. They work in our subconscious. Why do advertisers spend billions of dollars on the right words and the right images to buy stuff we don't want? I bought a ShamWow. I don't even know what it does, but I bought one. Does anybody have a ShamWow? Oh, you got one back there? What does it do? I have no idea. But the idea is what I'm telling you today is take control of your primers. Be the master of your primers. Be the master of the notes of your life song. Because that's the only way you're going to be inspired every day. That's the only way you're going to be able to go full throttle at work when you're number one and you get complacent. It's so hard to stay motivated and inspired. You got to create the right life song, have the right notes, which leads to the next point, is the life song. And once you've done this over and over again, it becomes a habit. In psychology, we know we go to our habits under pressure. So when we're demotivated, when we don't feel like it, we can snap that life song right on and be like Michael Jordan and be that superstar because we've made the right life song our habit. It takes a lot of work, just like learning a golf swing. Is anybody a 5 handicap in here or better? Okay, and who's lying? Okay, all right. It took years of practice, right, to build a great golf swing. Well, it takes a lot of work to create the right life song to become your habit. It didn't take Michael Jordan instantaneously overnight to do that. It took him years and years of practice. The problem is a lot of us have built the wrong life song. We've created a sour song. And it comes out under pressure. Who does this? When you're a little sad and depressed, you go raid the refrigerator and you overeat. Who does that? I've done that, right? Okay, it's easy to do, right? That's the wrong life song because you're just telling yourself, if I eat a little bit, I'm going to feel better, but it only lasts a short term, and then all of a sudden you feel guilty. Or who does this? You're in traffic and you get cut off and you give them that magic finger. That's not the right finger, right? Well, you're saying to yourself, I'm the greatest driver in the world, and I'm so important. And that's the wrong life song because road rage can get you in trouble. Or who does this? You had a rough morning with your kids. They didn't listen to you. Your spouse got on you for not doing something the night before. You get to work, and they tell you that employee that's really good has been late for the 3rd time in a row. So you call him into your office, and you chew him out, and he quits. And you just lost a good employee because you had the wrong life song playing. It's so easy to do. But what the most successful people do is they have this powerful, positive life song that they can flip on at a moment's notice. And they use the words, they use the action, and they use the images that I'm describing to you today. And someone who does this method to a T is this guy, Muhammad Ali. And I know you know about him, the greatest boxer of all time. But long before he was boxing champion of the world, long before he strode up those stairs shaking from Parkinson's to light the Olympic flame in Atlanta in 1996, remember that? He grew up very poor in Louisville. His mother couldn't afford nice toys, but the young Muhammad Ali, back then known as Cassius Clay, saw this blue bike at the local bike store. It was a Schwinn, had the leather seat and the great handlebars and that beautiful emblem. And Muhammad Ali worked all summer boxing groceries at the local grocery store. He finally had enough money for that blue bike, handed the shopkeeper the money, rode all over Louisville the next day, 12 hours a day. I mean, he loved that bike. He was showing off to his friends, his family. I mean, that bike was just so golden to him. The following day, he parked his bike in front of the grocery store, made sure the lock was nice and tight. When he got off work, someone had clipped the lock and stolen his bike. He looked all over Louisville for his bike. He never found his bike. And he never found out who stole his bike. But we all know Muhammad Ali is a true champion. And he harnessed that negative energy into a positive life song. So every time he would step into the ring, he'd point at his opponent and say, "You're the guy who stole my blue bike." True story. Think about it. He had the action, point, "You're the guy who stole my blue bike." His words, buzzwords were, "You're the guy who stole my blue bike," and the image was the blue bike. And so he got fired up with the method I'm describing to you today. And I'm not telling you this method so that you would get fired up so that you could beat up your employees. Because I know you probably do want to beat up some of your employees, but that's not what I'm telling you this method. I'm telling it to you so you can get inspired every day. So you can basically go full throttle. But every everybody's story is unique. And this method, the way it's going to work the best is if you make it unique for yourself. And I'm going to share with you how to do that. And I think the best way is to bring someone on stage with me right now, Bob Winningham. Come on down. Little dance, Bob. We practiced this. You ready?
Is that what we are? Okay, man. I'm ready.
Okay, cue the music. All right.
Little rocky now.
Bob, I hope everybody knows you to a certain degree. So tell us where you live and what you do, Bob.
I'm Bob Winningham. I live in St. Louis, Missouri. Been a dealer for 35 years. 20 years with Toyota. And
do you like what you do, Bob?
Love it.
Okay, good.
Yes,
Good answer.
I do.
Okay. So, of course, I've spoken to Bob a few times, and let me say Bob is a great guy. Right, Bob? Okay.
That's it.
So first tell us a story when you were inspired, because this is how the method works. You have to basically recall a time when you were truly inspired. And I'm going to warn you, even though we're doing it up here, I'm going into the audience in a few minutes here, and I'm going to ask you to tell me a story when you're truly inspired. So just think about it, okay? So tell us a time when you were truly inspired.
Well, I'll tell you, when I talked to Greg, he wanted me to really break down of something that I've done in my lifetime that was inspiring. Thought about the family, thought about business, and I know we're all in business and we're all in the trenches, you know, day after day doing the same thing. So our stories would probably mesh pretty well. But I had the opportunity as a young man to play in a championship football game. And what I learned going through that whole season and what I learned in that game were second to none. I blew my socks off of me. It was fantastic. And I learned control. I learned that what you put into something, you'll get out of. And what you do really matters.
Okay, so going back to the spotlight, when you put the spotlight on your life, I heard you say why it's about control, right? You felt like you were in control and what you do matters, okay?
Right.
So let's flip that. Now tell us a time when you were uninspired, you were burnt out.
Yeah, I've had a few of those in my day.
We've all had, yeah.
I think the worst one, and I share this with my brothers and sisters, my Toyota brothers and sisters, when Clark Equipment went down to tubes, when they had bankruptcy.
Should we hiss them?
Ooh.
Okay.
That was tough. My business, you know, I got at halt.
And you felt depressed, burnt?
Burnt out, yep. Really did. And what are we going to do? Thank God we reacted, and Toyota came to the party, and it's been a great success ever since then. But yeah, I lost control. I had no control over that.
And really, what you're saying here is the one main difference between when you were truly inspired and when you burnt out was control for you.
Yes.
And what's interesting is, you know, I didn't tell Bob what to say up here. We just talked on the phone. In sports psychology, in motivation, in psychology, whatever you want to look at, control, being in control of your life is a huge factor related to inspiration. We know that. And Bob, when he talked to me about that, just totally proved it. And so what I want to do right now is I'm just going to go in the audience real quick, and I want a couple people just to tell me a time they were inspired. So I'm going to pick on Jeff because, you know, he's pickable. So tell us a time you're truly inspired.
When there's an opportunity to change the course of something important.
Is there a specific event?
Yeah, a couple. You know, people or.
Just think of. Can you recall a specific event?
Yeah, my children.
Okay.
When they were, you know, at the age when they were going through confirmation in our church.
Okay, so why did that inspire you?
Well, it was a chance I thought to do something for them that would make a difference in their life.
Okay, so you're making a difference. So you being truly inspired, you felt making a difference was a big factor. Okay, so that's gonna hold on to that thought because that's gonna be important. Okay, one more. Can I pick on you, Norm?
Sure, why not?
Tell us a time you were burnt out.
There was a time when I had to close down offices that I had opened up and built and grew a company and got to a point where the company wanted to downsize, and all the people that I brought along on this journey I had to let go.
Right, so why did that burn you out? Why? What was the spotlight? What is about that burnt you out?
I think it's the negative feeling of impacting someone else's life.
Right, kind of opposite to Jeff, you negatively impacted someone and you pulled out the meaningfulness, perhaps. What I'm getting at right now is, think about a time you were truly inspired, that story of your life. Because everybody's unique, everybody has their own story. And think about a time you were burnt out. And think about the difference. Why? What is the one main difference? Because that one main difference is really going to give you the power to push your emotions in the right direction. Because everybody's unique. Like Muhammad Ali used his technique a certain way. Michael Jordan used his technique. Nick Saban uses his technique. Everybody's unique. You have to figure out your story and how to use it to your best of your ability. And so what I want to do next is go on to the next point, which is once you figure out that one main difference, then what you do, just like we talked about in the Muhammad Ali story, you got to create buzzwords, actions, and images to push your emotions in that direction. So Bob, tell us, we talked about control was that one main difference. And of course, we've already talked about his buzzwords and actions. What would be a great buzzword for you?
Empowering.
Empower. Because that makes you feel
in control.
In control. So just like you're the guy who stole my blue bike, when you say empower, you're going to maybe get in that doggy Zen position. No, you're going to get the shoulders up and you're going to feel powerful. And then what's an image that you have?
Probably a fist pump.
That's an action.
Action.
Okay. But an action like a fist pump.
Yeah,
okay.
Fist pump.
And then what would be the image?
Of winning.
Okay, like the time you won with the football.
Exactly.
And the idea here is everybody's unique. Those buzzwords, actions, and images are only going to work for Bob, just like they're only going to work for Muhammad Ali. And so I'm going to go in the audience right now, and I'm going to ask a couple of you to tell me a buzzword. We're going to keep it simple. Think about a buzzword that relates to that one main difference that you can say, and it gets you so pumped, it gets you so inspired that it's going to make you tingle in the head, it's going to make you tingle in the toes, just like that love song we talked about, the principle, the 3-month love song. This is the same thing. It's the same factor. But you have to have the right buzzwords, actions, and images to make it work. So I want to thank Bob for coming up on stage with me.
Buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Nice job.
So I'm going to pick on just a couple people over on this side. Ron, just because you have a name tag. Tell us a buzzword.
Friendship.
Friendship. Why does that work for you?
Means that, relates to me in the word love.
So when you say that, how do you feel?
I feel it's all about relationships.
Right. Okay, so that works for you, might not work for someone else, but boom, that creates that lovely, positive, powerful, emotional state. When you say it, hopefully it's going to work. One more. Roger. What do you think? Buzzword.
Let's win.
Let's win. Why does that work for you?
Because I'm very goal-oriented.
Goal-oriented, okay, competitive. So yeah, it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it works for you, right? That's the secret. You must figure out what buzzwords work for you. Sometimes you're going to pick some words and they're going to work, and sometimes they're not, but you need to figure out which ones work for you. And what I want to do right now, well, you know what? You thought you were going to get away with it, didn't you? Everyone has to stand up, and you're going to have to tell me your buzzwords on the count of 3, okay? Here we go. Oh, thanks. You could just put it right there on the chair. Just put it on the chair. Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, those are great. I love them. Okay, you guys can sit down. And because you told me your wonderful buzzwords, I need to tell you my story and what my buzzwords are. So about 10 years ago, I spoke to Millbrook School. It's this lovely prep school in upper state New York. And the kids there go to Harvard and Yale and Princeton. You know the type. And most of them can't even play 2 sports. And they're required to play 3 sports at this school. And they knew I was going to talk about emotional toughness, mental toughness. And I'm speaking at the chapel. And they were so interested because they knew they needed this tip. And you could tell they're like this, and they're so engaged, just like you guys are this morning. And they're hanging on my every word. And as I'm talking, I actually move outside my body, and I said, Gregg, you're doing a great job. Way to go. And I thought, why was I so inspired at that moment? Because I was just sharing my knowledge to those kids. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I was just sharing. I was making a difference, like Jeff was saying. I was just sharing myself with them. And I was having that positive, powerful, emotional state, and they were giving it back to me. And that's why I was truly inspired. And then about 8 years ago, I did this local TV show, and I was really my first show on TV. And I'm talking about Tiger Woods at the Masters when he was good 8 years ago. And I remember when the lights turned on, that green light turned on the camera, I went like this. I was like a deer in headlights. I went, and I didn't know what to say. I mumbled a few sentences, and the commentator basically covered for me. And as I'm walking out of the studio, he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, nice try. And I had to think about it. I had to put the spotlight on myself and say, why was I just basically the worst? And it's because I was trying to prove myself. I was proving myself at that moment. And so my buzzwords are just share. Just share. That's my buzzwords. Because when I'm sharing, I'm in this joyous, positive, powerful, emotional state. And my action is I go like this. Because when I spoke to those kids, I was in a chapel, and so I just kind of feel like, I'm in the chapel again, and I think about those kids. That's my image. And I do it before I spoke today, before I go teach class, before I work with clients. I always do my actions, my images, everything, because it puts me in that powerful, positive state. That's my life song over and over again. It becomes my habit. And so I can flip that switch on in a moment's notice. And I spoke to Bob about this too. And basically what I said was, you need to do it every day. You need to do your buzzword, empower, and do your action, your image before you talk to clients, before you have a meeting when you're talking to your staff, maybe when you get home and you're kind of burnt out. The same thing with you. You need to do these buzzwords, actions, and images so it becomes your life song. Because what you do and who you are important. And it's not just about business, it's about life. You need to be inspired at work, but also in your life. You need to turn that, you have to flip that switch on and find that positive, powerful, emotional state so that the world reacts to you in a positive, powerful, emotional way. And I did this right before I got on Dance with the Stars. There's like 20 million people watching this. And I had choked before, and it's live, and I'm thinking, I need to be at my best emotional state. So I practiced, and I did my word, and I did my action, I did my image. And when I got on and that green light turned on, I thought I nailed it because I'm not an actor, clearly, but I got into that emotional state. I don't know if you saw the episode that I was on. It was this one. It was when Sarah Palin was dancing with Barack Obama. It was a great episode, I'm telling you. Now, of course, that's fake. Only if the Democrats and the Republicans could get along that well, right? But yes, I was on Dance with the Stars, and I did do my word, action, image, and it really, really helped. And what I'm really showing you is kind of like a secret. Now that I've given you this knowledge, and I told you about this method, you will see it. I guarantee you. You will see it everywhere. You'll see it in stories. You'll see it on TV. This year, this guy right here, Matthew McConaughey, right, won the Oscar for Dallas Buyers Club. Do you know what he does before every scene? He goes like this. He pumps his chest 3 times. That's his action. That's how he gets inspired. And Leonardo DiCaprio saw that, and they put it in this movie, which is The Wolf of Wall Street. And when the scene is when he's mentoring Leonardo, he does his 3 pumps. He's the top of the top of the top of his business, yet he's still doing this technique because this technique works. It inspires him to be at the right moment so he could go full throttle, even though he's at the top of his game. And this technique is not just about performance, it's about life. It's about health. And I was, last year, Joel Osteen came to Nashville where I live, And if you don't know him, he's the televangelist, and he's got a huge following, and I like his message. My wife likes his message. And I was figuring, where does this guy get all his charisma from? Because people love this guy. Well, I discovered where he got all his charisma. It's from his mother. His mother's 5'0". She comes on stage. She's this great ball of energy. She's running around, and she tells this story. She said, 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. And the doctor gave me a couple years to live. So I did the chemo and the radiation. My hair fell out, and my skin turned jaundice. And I didn't want to look sick. I didn't want to feel sick. I never looked in the mirror. What I did was I took the pictures of my healthiest state when I was at the beach, at the mountains, in Thanksgiving with my family, and I posted them all over the house. 10 times a day I would say, I am healthy, I am healthy, I am healthy, I am healthy. And then she said, today I'm cancer-free. Now, I know there's a lot of reasons what contribute to her great health, but I know in my heart this technique helped her push her emotions in the right direction. It's not only a game changer, it's a life changer. So I want everybody to do right now is stand up. We're going to incorporate the Matthew McConaughey technique with her technique. What I want you to do is tap your chest 3 times and say, I am healthy, I am healthy, I am healthy. Okay, go. I am healthy, I am healthy, I am healthy. Okay, be honest with me, really, be honest. Who felt a positive surge when they did that? Okay, a few of you, right? You are going to be rock stars in this method. Now, some of you, you did not feel it. And you know why you didn't feel it? Because 1, you haven't practiced it. And 2, maybe you don't believe in it. Maybe you've tried self-help techniques to lose weight, maybe to change your relationships, and they didn't work, and you think these techniques stink. And I understand that. Some of them do. But this technique is not like other techniques. It's based on your own uniqueness, your own life story, and it gives it the power. That's what gives it the power to make it work. But we're missing one last piece of the puzzle, which is vital. And the last piece is this, meaning. So go ahead and have a seat, because I want to tell you my favorite story of the day, which you must add to this technique. And my favorite story is about Terry Fox. Terry Fox lost his leg to cancer at 22. And his life song was he was going to walk a marathon across Canada, East Coast to West Coast, every day. He was going to walk 12 miles in the morning, take a break, and his brother and his best friend followed him in a van, and then walk 14 miles in the afternoon. And he called it the Marathon of Hope. And he did this to raise awareness for cancer and to raise $1 million for cancer research. Think about that. A marathon a day on one leg. It didn't matter if it rained, if it snowed, if the heat was oppressive. It's unthinkable, but he did it because he had meaning in his life song. That's the only way he could go full throttle in every day to a marathon. And at first, the media didn't really follow his story, and then they started following it. And then all of a sudden, there'd be thousands of people lining the streets following Terry. And he'd come to a stadium, and he'd speak to thousands, tens of thousands of people, telling them about the Marathon of Hope. Because his life song had meaning, and everybody felt it, and they gravitated towards him. And then at the 3,000th mile, he felt terribly sick. He had to go to the hospital. They discovered a lump the size of an orange in his left lung, and they had to remove it. Think about this. On one leg, he walked the distance from Seattle to Miami with a lump in his lung. The only way he could do that is because his life song had immense meaning. And when he was in the hospital bed, there was an impromptu telethon. The whole country of Canada started a telethon, and they raised $10 million in the name of Terry Fox because everybody felt that life song. Unfortunately, a week later, after that telethon, he passed. And the tears of the country were felt. And they created this statue of Terry, really Thunder Bay, where he stopped his Marathon of Hope. And it's fist pump, looking towards the west, going full throttle. There is no way you can be inspired every day unless you have meaning in your words, actions, and images. There's no way. Do you really think Muhammad Ali got inspired because of his blue bike? It wasn't his blue bike. It was his mama. His mama worked 3 jobs, day in and day out, to put food on the table for his 3 brothers. And he saw how hard his mama worked. And he thought, when that kid stole his blue bike, he wasn't stealing from himself. He was stealing from his mama. And you don't do that. So when Muhammad Ali went into the ring and he pointed at that kid, he was saying to himself, you don't steal from my mama, and I'm going to teach you a lesson you will never, ever forget. Because Muhammad Ali had meaning in his life song. When your actions, images, and words have meaning to them, that and only that way will you be able to go full throttle every day, be inspired every day to put the pedal to the metal. And when your life song has meaning, then you will inspire everybody in your world. And your world will respond to you in a positive, powerful way. So I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking right now. So I want you to get up one last time. I know you're dying to do this. Turn to your neighbor and point at him and say, you're the guy who stole my blue bike. All right, thank you very much. It's been an honor. Enjoy the book.